this video, I'm going to do some details on this drawing that I laid out in my first video. I sped it up to a time and a half, just so you wouldn't have to sit through 20 minutes of me drawing details. Right here, what I'm interested in is that little bit of tape that's peeling off the Amazon box. Now, I actually took that tape and peeled it off, so I'd have something interesting to draw right there. And now with the top, there's a little gap right there where I'm using a darker line. So this is the modified contour line method. So you can see my head, I'm doing a lot of looking at the still life. I'm looking at that, looking at the drawing. Might be about 50% looking at the still life, looking at the drawing right now. So I'm just putting on that kind of raggedy looking tape there. And then I see something funny. I actually see a drawing of a box on the tape for the box. So I thought, oh, that's funny. I'm going to put that on there. With your details, you don't have to put all the details in, just the ones that really kind of capture your interest. And I decided to start at the top and then work down. I think it gives my drawing a nice flow like that. So now I'm working on that Amazon smile, and I'm trying to get that curved little dimple-like shape in the right spot in relation to the corner of the box. So that's what I'm looking at there. Then I'm looking at the space between where that smile ends, the curve begins. Watch me draw through that shape. Now, even though that tape was there, see how I swing my curve around? Even though the tape was there, I need to draw through it so I get one nice, beautiful, continuous curve like that. Now I'm just refining the edges just a little bit because I laid it out in sort of a lighter gestural line, which is how I tend to draw. Then I have to, I tighten up a little bit for the modified contour line. Here I'm just making that edge a little bit darker. And I notice there's a little piece of cardboard kind of coming over the edge, so I suggest that. There I'm working on some dents with the cardboard, just cleaning up those edges, and a little bit of cardboard sort of peeling away at that corner. And in there I'm just playing around with that little piece of cardboard playing away. It's funny about boxes, when you're packing things to move, or when you get your Amazon boxes or anything that's shipped, you want them neat and clean. But when you're drawing them, usually the most interesting parts are the tape that's peeling away and sort of the corners that have been bashed in. Well, I decide that I want to draw that UPS code there. Is that what it's called? Okay, whatever. Anyway, whenever you're drawing something on the side of the box, you got to make sure that the rectangle that is in barcode, yeah, make sure that rectangle is also following the perspective lines, the orthogonals of the box. Then I think that's kind of a weird little shape there with those corners, so I'm putting that on there too. So just getting that. Before I drew that, I drew guidelines, kind of light lines to show me the rectangles of the box. Now I'm just darkening up a little bit underneath that top box, and now I'm about to work on just the tape on the side of the Macy's box. So I'm pretty much done with the top box. And as I was drawing that little Amazon smile, I was thinking I might come back and shade it, and you'll see if I do it. Now, with that little piece of tape on the middle box, I wanted to place it in the right spot in relationship to the tape on the top box, so you can see how they're kind of zigzagged. There's a little bit of a dark edge of that box right in there. And what I just did was I actually sighted the edge of that tape. I wanted to see if it was a horizontal or if it slanted up or down a little bit. And it did slant ever so slightly. And then I've got this other piece of wrinkled tape that comes up like that cellophane clear tape, and it had like a nice wrinkle in it. And here I'm ready to start laying out the Macy's letters. Now, a lot of you probably have lettering on your box. Let me show you how to do it. So as I start working on this, I realize that they place that Macy's star right smack in the middle of the box. Now when a box is in perspective, or actually any kind of rectangular shape, you draw an X lightly on the box. That X on the box is going to show you where the central axis is. It's going to show you where the center is. So as I'm studying the Macy's star, and of course I learned how to draw a 5-pointed star when I was like a kid in elementary school. But what I'm really looking at is the spaces between the points. And I noticed that the spaces between the points are greater than a 90-degree angle. So I'm like, yeah, all right, okay, I want to get the star right. That's what I'm going with. I'm looking at the negative space between the points. Always good to look at negative space. Here I'm just cleaning it up a little bit with a kneaded eraser. So I am cleaning up the X that I drew on the box. And next I'm going to start working on the Macy's lettering. So now I'm really looking at where that lettering is in relationship to the star. And instead of starting with the M, I start with the A, because I realized that the graphic designer placed the A, really kind of almost right in the middle of the star. So that was going to really help me with spacing. And you can see that I drew guidelines on the top, very light guidelines on the top, and then guidelines on the bottom. And every once in a while I'll go back and kind of adjust those where I want the letters to go. As I do the letters, the way I'm realizing, what they look like is, if you look at the A and you look at the C, they're really circles. They're like perfect circles, but the A has a straight line on the right of it, and the C, of course, has a little gap. As I'm working on those letters, now I'm working on the Y, I'm really staring at the negative space between the letters. So I can't tell you how important it is to really, really study negative spaces. And even with something like lettering. And when the person designed that logo for Macy's, and they worked on their branding, they thought very, very specifically about exactly what kind of font they would use, how they would space the letters, how far away, how close. The fact that the M is a small m. What does that mean? Is Macy's for everyone? They're not trying to be big and fancy. They don't have that big capital letter. Very interesting. Breaking a rule there, too. Name of a store should be capitalized. So it makes you think about what the graphic designer had in mind. Anyway, I'm kind of wrapping up my Macy's lettering right in there, just adjusting it slightly. And now I'm off to a few details on this bottom box. You can see in that close-up image of the bottom box, it's got a corner that's been bashed around a little bit. It's got some tape, so I'm going to add that tape coming down. And, I'm trying to place it where it should be in relationship to the corner of the box that's on top of it. It's got some little light lines in it, so there's like X fibers in it. And I'm placing the other one. Now the tape on the bottom, the edge, is going to be darker on the top right and the right side because it's kind of fallen off the box in there. So you'll notice that I varied my line quality in there. I also can see like the edge of the top piece of cardboard, like on the bottom. So whenever you can actually see like the width of the cardboard or the edge of the cardboard, you want to draw that. And at this point, I pretty much decided that, Macy's and the top Amazon box, those were really my focal points. So I did the last barcode pretty loose in there. I just kind of put the rectangle on there, made sure it was in perspective, and then really quickly suggested those lines on the barcode instead of getting all detailed with that. Remember, it's a good idea to vary your focus. Choose where your focal points will be your areas of emphasis, and other parts of your drawing can be a little bit looser. Now I'm going back, just fixing some of the Macy's lettering, just tweaking it a little bit, working the shapes. And I thought I would very lightly just, again, suggest the table that the boxes are sitting on with some light, loose lines there, and just kind of pulling those lines down. And again, I'm holding my pencil further back, like we do with the gesture drawing, because I want the table to look pretty light And light and loose, I want it to be there, but again, I don't want to take the attention away from my Amazon box or my Macy's logo. And then I just threw a little bit of wood grain in there on the actual table. And I'm just going through my entire drawing right now, and I'm going to make some lines a little bit darker. I'm going to just clean up some erasure, some sketchy marks with my kneaded eraser. And this is where I'm making some of the lines darkest. So I'm looking at the entire pile of boxes and I'm trying to figure out, all right, where are my darkest lines? I'm going to darken them up. I want the whole drawing to have a sense of unity with the dark lines repeating throughout. And also a sense of rhythm with the dark lines repeating throughout. At the end, I decide, you know what? I am going to very lightly shade that Amazon logo. And I use a diagonal stroke when I'm shading it in. And you can do that too in little parts. And then afterwards, I also shaded my Macy's star.